Welcome, dear dreamer, to Whispers of the Night. I'm so glad you're here. Take a moment to settle in, allowing your breath to soften and your shoulders to release the weight of the day. Tonight, we'll drift gently into a world woven from starlight, quiet wonder, and tranquil dreams. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy peaceful bedtime stories like this one. By subscribing, you become part of our growing family of night wanderers, those who seek rest.com and the gentle comfort of beautifully told tales. When you subscribe, you'll never miss a new story, a new escape, or a new moment of peace. Now, let your eyelids grow heavy as you listen. Tonight's story is called The Cartographer of Starlight Paths, a soothing journey following a gentle young mapmaker who discovers magical routes drawn from the stars themselves. As we begin, feel free to adjust your blankets, find your most comfortable position, and allow the soft glow of imagination to light the space around you. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Just breathe, listen, and let the quiet cradle you. Before we drift into the heart of tonight's story, I'd like you to take a moment just for yourself. Let your body settle deeper into your bed, feeling the warmth beneath you, the softness around you, and the gentle sense of safety that comes with knowing that this is your time to rest. Take a slow breath in and exhale softly. Feel the rhythm of your breathing guiding you into stillness. With each breath, imagine a soft glow forming at the center of your chest, warm, calm, steady, like the first spark of a lantern being lit. As you inhale, imagine that glow expanding slowly, filling your chest, your shoulder, down your arms, and all the way to your fingertips. And as you exhale, feel any tension melt gently from your body. Now breathe again, slow and relaxed. With every breath, picture that warm glow spreading through your neck, down your spine, and into your legs. Your muscles loosen, your breathing softens, and your thoughts begin to drift like leaves floating on a quiet stream. If any lingering worries appear, imagine placing them into a small wooden box beside you. Close the lid gently. You can always return to them, but for now, they are resting just as you are. Now, imagine yourself stepping into a quiet, starlit forest. The air is cool but comforting. Soft moss cushions every step. Tiny blue gold lights float lazily between the trees, drifting like slow-moving fireflies. In this forest, you are weightless, held, supported, at ease. A faint glow appears ahead, and you walk towards it calmly. As you reach the clearing, you see a young mapmaker standing with a lantern in her hands. Her long, dark braid glimmers with starlight. The lantern she carries glows softly, illuminating swirling particles of light around her. She smiles gently, acknowledging your presence without words. Her expression is peaceful, as if she has been waiting for you. She lifts the lantern slightly, and with that simple gesture, the entire forest brightens by just a touch. Not harshly, but softly, like moonlight reflected on a quiet lake. You stand beside her, breathing in the fresh, calming air. The glow from her lantern washes over you, warm and comforting. You feel completely at ease in this moment. Nothing is rushed, nothing is demanded. You are simply here, safe, calm, and ready to drift into the dreamlike world that awaits. Let your breath slow even more, let your body grow heavy. Let your mind grow soft and quiet. You are ready. Now, ready to step gently into the story of the Cartographer of Starlight Paths, and as the tale unfolds, allow each word to guide you deeper into rest, deeper into stillness, and deeper into peaceful sleep. The Cartographer of Starlight Paths. The Mapmaker's Lantern. In the quietest corner of a town that had grown older than memory itself, where cobblestone streets curled like silver ribbons beneath the soft glow of lanterns, lived a solitary figure whose life was devoted to paths that few ever saw and fewer still understood. The townspeople, if they noticed them at all, thought of the figure as simply the mapmaker, a person of quiet routines and whispered curiosity. But those who had the keenest eyes, those who lingered a moment longer than usual when passing by, might have seen a faint glimmer in the mapmaker's window at twilight, a light that did not belong to ordinary candles or the flicker of firewood. It was the glow of lanterns that held secrets of starlight, of journeys that existed not in the worn pages of ordinary maps, but in the spaces between the stars themselves. That evening, the sky was a deep velvet, brushed lightly with strokes of silvery clouds that shimmered. The mapmaker's small study, perched at the edge of the town where the cobblestones faded into narrow, winding alleys, smelled faintly of parchment, ink, and a hint of lavender. The air was cool, carrying the crispness of approaching night. Every table and shelf was meticulously organized, lined with scrolls, parchment, ink pots, and instruments whose purposes were known only to the mapmaker. Yet, in the center of it all, beneath the window, where moonlight pooled like liquid silver, lay the most extraordinary item, a lantern that never burned down, whose flame seemed woven from the very essence of starlight. The mapmaker moved toward it with slow, deliberate steps. There was a rhythm to their movement, a kind of meditation in the way hands hovered over the brass handle before lifting the lantern gently, almost reverently. It was not simply a light for seeing in darkness, but a companion, a guide for journeys that stretched beyond the edges of the known world. Tonight, as with many nights before, the mapmaker felt the familiar tug of curiosity, that quiet, persistent whisper that suggested there were places still hidden, paths that waited to be traced by the careful hand of someone willing to follow the delicate threads of the stars. Outside, the town was settling into sleep. Windows glowed softly with golden lamplight, and the distant hum of quiet voices drifted through the air, quickly swallowed by the night. A cat padded along the edges of the streets, its steps soundless against the smooth cobblestones, a shadow among shadows. The mapmaker paused at the doorway, lantern in hand, listening to the gentle rhythm of the night. There was a hush, a kind of expectant silence that seemed to hold its breath as though the world itself waited to see what the mapmaker would do. And then, as if in answer, a faint streak of light appeared high in the sky, distant and small, like a star that had chosen to fall, to drift a little closer to the earth. The mapmaker tilted their head, eyes reflecting the subtle shimmer of the lantern. It was rare, almost impossible, to see such a thing. Stars fell, yes, but seldom so deliberately, seldom in a manner that seemed like an invitation rather than a mere accident of the cosmos. The streak lingered just long enough for the mapmaker to discern its gentle curve, tracing a path that descended toward a narrow alley the town had long forgotten. Curiosity, warm and steady, spread through the mapmaker's chest. This was no ordinary event. It was a signal, a beckoning, a hint of something extraordinary just beyond reach. The lantern was raised slightly, its starlight flame reflecting in the mapmaker's eyes. Step by step, they moved toward the alley, feeling the cobblestones beneath. Their feet like an old friend, familiar and comforting. Shadows stretched and softened in the lantern's glow. The corners of buildings melting into shapes that were both real and imagined. It was the kind of night that held the magic of possibility, a night where even the smallest whisper of wind seemed to carry a secret meant for the map-maker alone. As the alley drew near, the streak of light grew brighter, a gentle pulse that seemed to synchronize with the map-maker's heartbeat. The walls of the alley were old, covered in ivy that glimmered silver under the lantern's glow. There was a faint scent of rain, or perhaps of memory itself, as though the alley remembered. The footsteps of countless wanderers who had long since vanished. The mapmaker paused at the entrance, hand hovering over the lantern, and took a breath. With one small, deliberate step, they entered. The alley was narrower than it had appeared from a distance, curling and twisting in ways that suggested it had no ordinary destination. Yet there was a comfort in its embrace, a sense of being guided rather than lost, of being invited into a story that had existed before and would continue after. The fallen star hovered ahead, settling gently onto the cobblestones like a droplet of light. It pulsed softly, as if breathing, tiny motes of stardust rising and falling around it, shimmering in delicate arcs. The map-maker knelt to examine it, careful not to disturb the fragile radiance. There was warmth in the light, a subtle hum that resonated through the bones and whispered words not in any language, but in feelings. Follow, discover, remember. And as the map-maker watched, the light began to extend, creating a thin, glowing thread that wove along the cobblestones, stretching toward the darker end of the alley. Bending gently as it traced a path the eye could barely perceive, the map-maker's hand hovered over the thread, fingers tingling as though in recognition. This was a path that could not be found on ordinary maps, a route that existed only in the delicate intersection of imagination and reality, of dream and waking. Heart steady and eyes bright with wonder, the mapmaker rose to their full height. The lantern's flame seemed to grow in response, bathing the alley in soft, protective light. The thread of starlight stretched ahead, inviting, unwavering, and the mapmaker moved forward, each footfall slow, deliberate, and full of quiet anticipation. As the path wound on, subtle details began to emerge. Tiny motes of dust shimmered like miniature constellations along the edges of the walls. Ivy leaves reflected faint light as though carrying their own hidden stars. The air itself seemed alive, vibrating gently with unspoken promise. Each step was a meditation, a gentle rhythm that carried the mapmaker deeper into a world where night and starlight intertwined in delicate harmony. The lantern's glow mingled with the starlit thread, creating halos that danced along the cobblestones, softening shadows and turning ordinary textures into scenes of quiet enchantment. Hours, or perhaps moments, passed without notice. Time felt fluid, suspended in the soft glow of the lantern and the delicate pulse of the fallen star. The alley opened suddenly into a small square that the mapmaker had never seen, though it was hard to imagine that any place in the town could remain entirely hidden. The square was round, enclosed by walls that shimmered faintly, lined with windows that reflected the starlight in pale, gentle echoes. In the center, the fallen star had grown slightly larger, hovering just above the ground, casting a pool of soft light that seemed to invite reflection and discovery. The mapmaker approached, slowly, heart humming with quiet awe. The lantern in their hand seemed to sense the significance of the moment, flickering softly, its flame gentle and steady. Around the square, shadows pooled in delicate patterns, almost as if the walls themselves had remembered the steps of previous wanderers, recording their silent journeys in the textures of stone and ivy. The mapmaker knelt beside the hovering star, tracing the edges of the soft glow with careful fingers, mindful not to disturb the delicate balance of light and night. And then, almost imperceptibly, the star pulsed again, brighter this time, and a faint, melodic hum filled the square. It was not loud nor intrusive, but a sound that seemed to resonate in the chest, settling the mind and softening the edges of thought. The mapmaker closed their eyes for a moment, breathing in the cool night air, feeling the gentle pulse of the star synchronize with their own heartbeat. There was an unmistakable sense of rightness, as though the night had waited specifically for this moment, and the mapmaker, with lantern in hand, had arrived exactly when needed. When the eyes opened, the star had begun to drift slowly toward a narrow archway at the far edge of the square. It left behind a faint trail, a luminous thread that shimmered like a ribbon of liquid silver. The mapmaker rose and followed, lantern casting a circle of warm light around their feet, reflecting softly in the cobblestones. There was no fear. Here, no hurry, only a gentle curiosity and the steady rhythm of quiet exploration. Each step seemed to peel back layers of the ordinary world, revealing hidden textures of light and shadow, small wonders that might have been invisible to anyone who walked too quickly or too carelessly. The archway led to a narrow street, lined with tall buildings that leaned toward each other, as if sharing whispered secrets. The starlit thread stretched ahead, winding through the street, and the mapmaker followed with deliberate care. Tiny cracks in the walls glimmered faintly, reflecting the lantern's flame and turning ordinary brick and stone into surfaces alive with magic. Somewhere above, the sky was a tapestry of silver clouds and distant constellations, each one reflected in the lantern's soft glow, creating the sense that the mapmaker walked not only along cobblestones, but also through the gentle folds of the night sky itself. At the far end of the street, the path opened into a garden, tucked between buildings in a way that made it almost invisible from the main roads. Flowers glimmered faintly, as though dusted with starlight. Ivy trailed along the edges of stone benches, shimmering like delicate threads of silver. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and rain, of moss and earth, of nights remembered and dreams waiting to be discovered. The mapmaker paused at the entrance, lantern held high, and took a slow breath. The garden seemed to acknowledge their presence, leaves quivering softly as though greeting an old friend. The fallen star hovered in the center of the garden, its glow steady and reassuring. It pulsed gently, in time with the mapmaker's heartbeat, and a quiet thought filled their mind. This was only the beginning. Every path traced by the starlight was a journey, not only through the town or its forgotten alleys, but also through the quiet chambers of wonder, imagination, and gentle discovery. And so, with lantern held high and footsteps soft, the mapmaker moved forward, prepared to follow the thread of starlight wherever it might lead, tracing paths that would exist only as long as someone was willing to notice them, to honor them, and to map them with care, patience, and quiet awe. The night seemed to wrap itself around the mapmaker, soft and protective, a cocoon of starlight, shadow, and gentle possibility. Each step was measured, each breath slow and soothing. In the distance, faint hints of other lights began to appear, as if other fallen stars waited to be discovered, each with its own story to tell. But for now, the mapmaker's focus remained on the thread before them, delicate and glowing, stretching into the heart of the garden, inviting them forward, deeper into the mysteries of the night, into the quiet enchantment of paths that existed between the world that was seen and the world that could only be dreamed. Whispers of the celestial forest. The path of starlight led the mapmaker further from the quiet streets of the town, winding like a silver ribbon through shadows that shifted with the soft pulse of lantern light. As they stepped into the forest, at the edge of the garden, the air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of pine and moss, of earth that had soaked in centuries of night rain. The leaves above shimmered faintly, catching the light of distant stars and the gentle glow of the lantern, as if each one contained its own tiny universe. It was a forest that seemed alive in the most subtle ways, not with the harsh rustle of wind or the sudden leap of creatures, but with a soft, constant hum of life that threaded through the branches, the ground, and the air itself. The mapmaker's steps were careful, each footfall measured, soft against the moss-lined path. Here, in this quiet place, the world seemed to breathe alongside them. Tiny motes of light hovered in the air, floating lazily like fireflies made of starlight. The thread of the fallen star glimmered ahead, winding through the trees in delicate loops and curves, invisible to any eyes that were not willing to look with gentle attention. As the mapmaker moved forward, they felt a peculiar sense of being watched, not with menace, but with quiet curiosity, as though the forest itself had eyes and ears, and it was observing them with a soft, patient interest. It was here, amid the gentle swaying of branches and the whispering leaves, that the mapmaker first heard the voices. Not voices in words, not the laughter or speech of ordinary beings, but soft, melodic murmurs that seemed to rise from the very soil and hum along the edges of the trees. At first, they were almost imperceptible, just a hint at the edge of hearing, like the faintest rustle of silk or the delicate chime of distant bells. The map maker paused, letting the lantern hang low at their side, and closed their eyes. The whispers did not carry meaning in the way words do, but feelings, impressions, gentle nudges of thought and memory that drifted through the mind like clouds across a still sky. They were not intrusive, only inviting, guiding the mapmaker deeper into the heart of the forest, into the quiet mystery that pulsed there with each step. The forest grew richer, more intricate. Vines glimmered with threads of silver light, trailing along the sides of trunks like veins of quiet magic. Flowers with petals like soft, translucent glass opened slowly in the shadowed undergrowth, releasing faint perfumes that seemed to hum in harmony with the whispers. Somewhere overhead, a branch shifted, and a constellation of tiny, luminous insects took flight, their movement scattering faint glimmers across the canopy. The mapmaker's heart slowed, attuning to the rhythm of this place, the gentle cadence of night breathing around them. It was a rhythm that invited trust, patience, and quiet wonder. The kind of rhythm that allowed the mind to soften and the spirit to settle. The starlit thread curved ahead, dipping low over a small stream whose water shimmered like liquid glass. As the mapmaker approached, they noticed the reflection of stars dancing across the surface, mingling with the glow of the lantern to create an endless, delicate tapestry of light. They stepped carefully onto smooth stones, each one warmed faintly by some unseen magic, and moved across the water. Beneath their feet, the stones seemed to hum, a subtle vibration that harmonized with the whispers, carrying a sense of passage, transition, and gentle forward motion. On the far side, the forest opened slightly into a glade, where the trees arched overhead like a cathedral, their leaves forming delicate mosaics that captured the soft silver light of stars. In this glade, the mapmaker felt the whispers more clearly. They were layered, like music composed of countless threads, intertwining in ways that defied ordinary perception. Some threads carried memory, gentle recollections of footsteps that had wandered here long ago, echoes of laughter and sighs that had been left behind in the quiet soil. Other threads carried hints of possibility, small nudges toward paths not yet taken, moments that might exist in dreams if one dared to follow. The mapmaker let the lantern lower, allowing its light to mingle fully with the silver gleam of starlight, and listened, letting the subtle music of the forest fill every corner of thought and feeling. Each breath seemed lighter, each step slower, as though the air itself had decided to move in harmony with the heart. A gentle wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the soft rustle of leaves and the faint, melodic hum of unseen wings. Somewhere nearby, the low glow of a hidden flower pulsed faintly, a delicate reminder that even in the quietest corners, the world held treasures that required patience and attention to find. The mapmaker moved toward it, lantern held steadily, careful not to startle the small, fragile bloom. As they drew closer, the flower's petals opened wider, reflecting the glow of both lantern and starlight, and the whispers seemed to form a coherent pattern, a gentle invitation to follow not only the path through the forest, but the path within, the quiet, reflective journey that made each step an act of discovery and wonder. Time, as measured in hours or minutes, seemed to dissolve. Here, the mapmaker walked slowly, aware of every sensation: the smooth brush of moss beneath fingertips, the soft weight of the lantern, the faint hum of stars in the dark canopy overhead. The whispers grew more distinct in places, forming gentle swirls of sound that wrapped around the mind and settled softly into quiet understanding. There was no urgency, no expectation, only the serene unfolding of the path, guiding the mapmaker deeper into a world that existed in the liminal space between wakefulness and dream, between the tangible town they had left behind and the quiet magic that now embraced them. Eventually, the starlit thread led the mapmaker to a clearing where the trees arched far overhead, leaving a window of sky open to the stars. Here, the whispers coalesced, soft patterns of sound and feeling that seemed almost tangible. The mapmaker knelt, tracing a finger along a silver trail that arched across the clearing, small motes of starlight floating upward like gentle sparks of memory. Each mote seemed to carry a story, a fragment of thought or dream, and the mapmaker watched them rise slowly, merging with the stars above, as if the forest itself was returning its memories to the sky. In that moment, the world felt endless and intimate at once, a tapestry of quiet light and gentle shadow, of paths waiting to be discovered and stories waiting to be told. A small movement caught the mapmaker's delicate creature, no larger than a bird, with wings of faint, translucent light. It hovered briefly, watching the mapmaker with silent curiosity before flitting along the starlit thread, guiding the way. The mapmaker followed, lantern held high, stepping softly over roots and moss, listening to the quiet music of the forest, and allowing each breath to slow, each heartbeat to align with the rhythm of this hidden world. The creature paused at a bend in the path, looking back as though encouraging the mapmaker to continue. With a slow nod, they did, feeling the comfort of being accompanied in a world that seemed vast, yet intimate, mysterious, yet welcoming. The deeper they ventured, the more the forest revealed its secrets. Tiny lights glimmered along the trunks of trees, as if each knot and crevice contained a hidden star. Flowers that seemed to glow only faintly at first began to pulse gently in response to the mapmaker's presence, reflecting the quiet harmony of attention and respect. Even the shadows seemed less dense here, softer, almost protective, forming delicate patterns on the ground that guided the feet forward rather than hiding dangers. The mapmaker moved without haste, aware that every step was both an exploration and an acknowledgement of the life that surrounded them, a dance of gentle curiosity and mindful care. By the time the mapmaker reached the edge of the glade, the whispers had become a gentle chorus, a quiet accompaniment to the slow rhythm of walking. The forest seemed to breathe with them, exhaling patterns of light and shadow that created a sense of motion without noise, of presence without intrusion. The starlit thread stretched ahead, bending and curving through a narrow path lined with luminous ferns and delicate vines, each reflecting the glow of lantern and star alike. And as the mapmaker moved forward, they felt the soft certainty that this journey, though mysterious and new, was exactly the one they had been meant to take. A path not only through the forest, but into the calm, reflective spaces of thought, an imagination that sleep so often nurtures. At last, the path opened into a small, secluded grove where a pool of water mirrored the stars above with perfect clarity. The air here was thick with the scent of night-blooming flowers, and the whispers had settled into a slow, rhythmic pulse that echoed in the chest and softened the mind. The mapmaker knelt at the edge of the pool, letting the lantern's glow mingle with the reflection of the sky. For a long while, they simply watched, listening to the whispers, feeling the gentle guidance of the forest, and allowing the quiet magic of the night to settle into every fiber of being. It was a moment of perfect stillness, a lull in which the world seemed suspended, and the mapmaker felt a gentle reassurance that they were exactly where they were meant to be. Bridges between dreams, the path through the celestial forest had led the mapmaker to a place where the night sky seemed to fold down into the world, as if the heavens themselves were leaning closer to offer guidance. There, beyond the luminous ferns and softly glowing vines, stretched a river unlike any other. It was not wide, yet it seemed endless, its surface smooth and shimmering, reflecting the night sky with a clarity that was almost impossible to believe. Stars glimmered within its depths, not merely reflected, but suspended, as if they had chosen to drift just above and below the surface, scattered like gentle, glowing seeds. The mapmaker paused at the riverbank, lantern held delicately in hand, and allowed their eyes to drink in the quiet magic. Every movement of water, every ripple that curved outward from some unseen stir, mirrored the soft pulse of the stars above, creating a subtle rhythm that hummed in the chest and settled the mind. For a long moment, the mapmaker simply stood there, feeling the cool night air brush across the skin, listening to the faint whispers of the forest that still lingered like distant echoes. There was no fear here, no sense of danger, only the gentle recognition that this river was not ordinary, and that it would demand attention, care, and patience to traverse. Then, in the stillness, a subtle shimmer appeared across the water, a delicate glimmer that resolved itself into a bridge of light. It was not a solid bridge, not in the sense that one could simply walk across without thought. Instead, it seemed spun from the same threads as the starlit path that had led the mapmaker Hera Bridge, formed of gentle pulses of energy, woven from silver strands that glowed faintly against the dark surface of the river. The mapmaker's heart quickened ever so slightly, a mixture of awe and calm, and they took a slow, deliberate step toward the bridge, lantern raised, eyes fixed on the glimmering path that arched gently ahead. The first step onto the bridge was tentative. It hummed faintly beneath the feet, a subtle vibration that resonated through the bones and seemed to communicate in a language beyond words. Be present, move with care, trust. The mapmaker adjusted their balance slightly, allowing the soft rhythm of the bridge to synchronize with their own heartbeat, and then took the second step, slower this time, more assured. With each footfall, tiny lights rose from the surface, floating upward like sparks of memory released into the night. The bridge seemed alive, responding to attention and intention, bending slightly but never breaking, guiding without forcing, inviting without demanding. It was a journey both outward and inward, a crossing that required not speed but mindfulness, not haste but reverence. As the mapmaker moved forward, glimpses of memories flickered in the faint light, fragments of dreams, half-remembered nights, moments of quiet reflection that had long ago slipped from conscious thought. They did not intrude. They simply appeared in the peripheral vision, like soft clouds drifting across the sky, and then receded again, leaving only the gentle warmth of recollection. The bridge beneath the feet seemed to pulse in response, encouraging patience and calm, ensuring that the journey was measured not by distance, but by the awareness of each delicate step. Every sway of the bridge, every subtle gleam, seemed to reinforce the notion that crossing this river was more than a physical act. It was a meditation, a dance between trust, attention, and quiet discovery. Halfway across, a small ripple disturbed the surface of the water, gentle enough to be soothing rather than alarming. From it emerged faint shapes, glimmering figures that seemed to be made of light and water, drifting lazily just above the surface. They were not creatures in the ordinary sense, but echoes, reflections of dreams that had been cast into the world long ago. Each figure lingered for a moment, raising a subtle, almost imperceptible gesture toward the mapmaker, a greeting, an acknowledgement, a gentle reassurance that they were on the right path. The mapmaker paused briefly, allowing the lantern to illuminate the shimmering forms, and felt a warmth of connection that extended beyond words. The river was not a barrier, but a medium, a bridge between dreams and reality, between memory and imagination, and the mapmaker was part of its delicate weaving. With careful steps, they continued forward, each movement attuned to the soft pulse of the bridge and the slow, rhythmic whisper of the night. Somewhere above, a cloud drifted across the sky, revealing the full brilliance of stars, mirrored perfectly in the river below. The effect was dizzying in its beauty, yet calming, a reminder that even in vastness there could be intimacy, and even in complexity there could be order. The mapmaker inhaled slowly, exhaling into the gentle hush, allowing the breath to synchronize with the rhythm of starlight, water, and bridge. Each step was a meditation, each moment a chance to dwell in the serene glow of a world where wonder and reflection were inseparable companions. Toward the middle of the bridge, the mapmaker encountered the first of the so-called dream gaps, sections where the glowing threads of the bridge stretched thin, wavering slightly as if waiting for courage and attention to pass. The mapmaker slowed, placing each foot with deliberate care, lantern flame soft and steady, illuminating the gentle wavering below. There was no fear, only focus, a recognition that the bridge demanded awareness, that the crossing was as much about mindfulness as it was about movement. Each gap passed left behind a faint glow, the light lingering like a soft echo of passage, a gentle encouragement to continue. It was a lesson in patience, in trust, in the subtle art of moving through the unknown without haste. The whispers returned here, softer now, less words and more sensations, a touch of warmth along the neck, a faint shimmer across the cheek, a subtle pulse in the chest. They were reminders of past journeys, quiet signals of the paths that had already been crossed, both literally and metaphorically. The mapmaker closed their eyes briefly, allowing the senses to expand beyond sight, to notice the delicate shifts in air and light, the subtlest vibrations beneath the feet, the faint hum that rose from the river. like a lullaby. When the eyes reopened, the bridge had settled, stronger and more certain beneath the feet, as though acknowledging the mapmaker's careful, attentive crossing. And so they continued, step by step, toward the opposite shore, carried not by urgency, but by the gentle flow of rhythm and presence. A sudden, soft flash of light drew the mapmaker's gaze upward. A constellation of tiny motes had formed above the bridge, spinning slowly in patterns that mirrored the threads below. Each mote was like a fragment of a dream, suspended in the night, rotating in quiet harmony with the river, the bridge, and the lantern's glow. The mapmaker raised the lantern slightly, allowing its light to mingle with the twinkling above, and noticed that the reflected stars in the river seemed to dance in response. The scene was hypnotic, a gentle symphony of illumination that encouraged stillness, contemplation, and the soft expansion of awareness. It was impossible to feel rushed here. The world demanded only presence, only careful attention, only the gentle act of being. The river, the bridge, the stars, they all began to speak in subtle harmony, conveying lessons not of words, but of feeling, the importance of patience, the quiet power of observation, the gentle joy of noticing small miracles. The mapmaker walked slowly, deliberately, noticing every ripple in the water, every shift of light across the bridge, every minuscule vibration that carried meaning in its subtlety. This was not a journey to reach a destination in haste, but a crossing to experience fully, to allow the mind to slow, the body to ease, and the heart to synchronize with the rhythm of the night. Halfway again, the mapmaker paused to kneel beside the edge of the bridge, peering into the river. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the stars with crystalline clarity. Tiny fragments of light floated along the surface like drifting lanterns, each one a memory, a thought, a quiet reflection of a dream. The mapmaker's fingers brushed the water lightly, creating gentle ripples that scattered the lights in delicate patterns. And as the lights moved, the whispers rose again, a gentle chorus of acknowledgement, gratitude, and encouragement. The river and the bridge were alive, not in the sense of ordinary life, but in the deeper, more resonant sense of consciousness intertwined with the natural and magical world. The next section of the bridge was narrower, threads of light thinner, requiring more care and attention. The mapmaker's steps became slower, more deliberate. Every movement measured with precision, every breath aligned with the rhythm of the thread. Here, even the smallest misstep would alter the glow of the bridge. Yet there was no fear, only mindfulness, only trust that careful attention would suffice. With each step, the bridge seemed to respond, solidifying beneath the feet, glowing more warmly, pulsing in quiet affirmation. It was a delicate dance, a balance of courage and calm, and the mapmaker moved with awareness, fully present to each gentle motion and quiet sensation. Finally, after what felt like hours, or perhaps only moments in the fluid time of night, the mapmaker reached the far side of the river. The bridge ended in a small clearing, lit softly by the reflection of the stars overhead. The river's surface shimmered gently, carrying the echoes of the crossing in subtle waves. The whispers of the forest and river merged into a soothing, continuous hum, like a lullaby composed by the night itself. The mapmaker knelt to touch the water one last time, feeling the pulse of the bridge, the rhythm of the river, the quiet resonance of the stars, and allowed a deep, slow breath to fill the chest. Every step, every moment of careful attention had led here to this stillness, this calm, this gentle recognition that the journey itself was the gift, not the destination. The clearing was serene, almost sacred in its quiet presence. Tiny motes of light floated lazily across the air, drifting like the last remnants of a dream, and the mapmaker felt a profound sense of completion mingled with anticipation. Beyond this point, new paths awaited, but here, in the hushed embrace of the river and the bridge, there was peace. The lantern's glow mingled with starlight and the reflection of the river, casting soft, protective circles of illumination across the ground. The mapmaker rested briefly, letting the sensations of the journey seep into every fiber of being, allowing the whispers, the river, and the gentle pulse of light to guide the heart and mind toward rest, reflection, and quiet wonder. And as the night continued to stretch softly around them, the mapmaker understood, in the calm certainty of the moment, that bridges of this kind, bridges woven from dreams, starlight, and attention, were always meant to be crossed slowly, with reverence, with patience, and with gentle awareness. For it was not merely the other side that mattered, but the rhythm of walking, the delicate dance of balance, the slow unfolding of wonder and reflection that transformed every crossing into a moment of profound, quiet magic, a lullaby for the soul as much as for the body. The Observatory of Forgotten Stars. Beyond the tranquil river and the bridges woven of dreams, the mapmaker continued along the soft, winding path that stretched between glowing ferns and silver-threaded vines. The night was deep and serene, a velvet canopy overhead, threaded with constellations that pulsed faintly as if breathing in rhythm with the world below. Each step carried a soft hush, a subtle echo against moss-covered stones, and the gentle rustle of nocturnal leaves. There was no urgency in the mapmaker's movements, no thought of destination pressing upon them. Instead, there was the quiet awareness of every sensations, the cool caress of night air on skin, the soft pulse of starlight in the lantern, the faint vibration of magic beneath the feet tanned, the comforting knowledge that the journey itself was as important as the path that lay ahead. As the path curved upward, the air grew crisper, carrying the delicate scents of mountain pine and night-blooming jasmine. Mist began to rise, thin and silver, curling in gentle tendrils around roots and rocks, softening the edges of the world and blurring the boundaries between earth and sky. The mapmaker paused to inhale, feeling the cool moisture fill the chest and spread through the body like a quiet balm. Somewhere above, a small flock of luminous birds drifted across the sky, their wings catching the faint glow of distant stars. They moved slowly, deliberately, as if tracing an invisible rhythm known only to the night. The mapmaker watched them, and a gentle sense of reverence settled over every step, every movement, every breath. At last, the path opened onto a plateau, broad and flat, overlooking a valley cloaked in mist. And there, perched atop the edge of the plateau, stood the Observatory of Forgotten Stars. It was a structure of ancient stone and delicate metalwork, its towers rising like spires toward the heavens, Silver light traced the edges of the roof and the curved windows, illuminating the intricate carvings that adorned the walls. Each window reflected the constellations above, capturing their brilliance in a delicate interplay of light and shadow. The mapmaker's breath caught in quiet awe. This was a place that had existed beyond the ordinary map, a sanctuary where the night itself seemed to be studied, cherished, and preserved. Golden light spilling out into the mist. The mapmaker stepped closer, lantern held high, the soft pulse of starlight mingling with the glow from within. As they crossed the threshold, the air changed, becoming warmer, infused with the faint scent of ancient parchment, oiled wood, and the subtle temps of magic that lingered like a perfume. Every surface was lined with instruments, telescopes polished to a mirror sheen, orreries spinning silently, maps of constellations spread across tables, charts marked with intricate lines that traced not only stars but the spaces between them. Each object seemed to hum softly with quiet energy, as though acknowledging the mapmaker's presence, welcoming them into a world both familiar and extraordinary. The mapmaker moved slowly through the observatory, each step careful, reverent. Lantern in hand, they examined the instruments, tracing the polished brass of a telescope, brushing a finger lightly across a delicate orrery. There was a sense here of patient devotion, of knowledge accumulated over centuries, not for power or fame, but for the quiet joy of understanding, of capturing the hidden threads of the cosmos in maps that could guide dreamers, wanderers, and seekers. Every corner of the room seemed alive, whispering secrets of distant stars, of forgotten paths, of moments in time that had slipped from memory but remained, preserved in the careful observation of those who had come before. At the far end of the observatory, a spiral staircase wound upward, its steps worn smooth by countless journeys. The map-maker ascended slowly, each step resonating faintly with a hum of energy that pulsed from the walls themselves. Above, a domed ceiling opened to the sky, a perfect circle framing the constellations in breathtaking clarity. The stars, here, seemed closer, more vivid, as though the observatory had been built not merely to observe, but to cradle the night itself. The map-maker's lantern reflected softly on the polished floor, mingling with the silver glow of starlight, creating a delicate, luminous mosaic that shifted with each movement. Reaching the top of the staircase, the mapmaker approached a large central telescope, its lens pointed toward the heavens. The instrument was finely crafted, an elegant fusion of brass, crystal, and faintly glowing runes. As the mapmaker peered through the eyepiece, the stars revealed themselves in intricate detail. Not only could they see distant constellations, but subtle threads of light, connecting them hidden pathways through the sky, routes that had long been forgotten by ordinary observers. It was as though the observatory itself had preserved a secret network, a celestial map that existed between stars, waiting for someone with patience and vision to trace its lines. The mapmaker sat back slightly, allowing the vision to sink in, feeling a profound sense of connection to the night, to the paths of light that stretched endlessly into the distance. There was no rush here, no need to record or label each discovery immediately. The beauty of this place was in the experience itself, the quiet wonder of tracing the invisible, the serene awareness of being present, the gentle acknowledgement that some truths were not meant to be grasped in haste but savored slowly, like a soft melody unfolding in the hush of night. As they continued to explore, the mapmaker noticed small details that had gone unnoticed at first. A series of delicate maps, each one rolled and tied with silver thread, lined a shelf along the wall. They were faded with age, corners curled, markings almost imperceptible, yet each contained patterns of starlight that pulsed faintly with an inner glow. The mapmaker reached for one, unrolling it with care. The parchment felt alive beneath their fingertips, subtle vibrations carrying the stories of nights observed long ago. The careful tracing of paths that connected stars not only in sight but in meaning. Each mark, each line, each soft curve was deliberate, a testament to the devotion of those who had come before, and a reminder that the journey of observation was as much about patience and reverence as it was about discovery. A faint draft whispered through the observatory, carrying the delicate scent of night-blooming flowers from a nearby terrace. The mapmaker followed the feeling, moving toward the edge of the dome, where a small balcony offered a breathtaking view of the valley below. Mist rolled gently through the trees, silver threads of starlight reflecting off the dew-dampened leaves. The quiet hum of life in the valley reached upward, blending seamlessly with the faint, melodic whispers of the observatory itself. Here, standing with lantern and heart aligned, the mapmaker felt a profound sense of stillness, a recognition that the night was not merely a backdrop for observation, but a living, breathing presence, infinitely patient, infinitely kind. From the balcony, the mapmaker traced a delicate path through the sky, following the hidden threads that connected distant stars. The starlight seemed to respond, faint pulses brightening as though acknowledging each careful gesture. They leaned lightly on the railing, lantern casting a soft glow across the stone floor, and allowed their mind to wander along the celestial highways, imagining the countless journeys that might follow these paths, the quiet wanderers who would one day trace them, lantern in hand, hearts attuned to the soft pulse of light and possibility. It was a meditation, a gentle act of presence, a slow unfolding of awareness that left every thought calmer, every breath deeper, every heartbeat more aligned with the rhythm of the night. Hours seemed to pass without measure. The mapmaker moved from telescope to chart, from balcony to interior chamber, each step deliberate, careful, reverent. There were no distractions here, no urgency, only the quiet unfolding of discovery, the soft illumination of lantern and star, and the patient guidance of the observatory itself. The room seemed to hum in response to attention, a subtle resonance that carried reassurance, understanding, and gentle encouragement. Every pulse of starlight, every reflection, every faint whisper was a lullaby in its own right, guiding the mapmaker deeper into serenity, into the soft folds of wonder that night had to offer. At the far end of the upper chamber, a small table held a curious instrument unlike any the mapmaker had seen before. It was delicate, a combination of crystal, silver, and faintly glowing runes, and it seemed to vibrate gently in the presence of starlight. The mapmaker approached, lantern flame flickering softly, and laid a careful hand upon it. Instantly, subtle patterns of light shimmered across the walls, tracing the paths of distant stars, illustrating connections that were invisible to the naked eye. The instrument did not speak in words. It spoke in feeling, in rhythm, in gentle pulses of illumination, that guided understanding without force. The mapmaker traced the patterns slowly, every movement a meditation, every breath a dialogue with the quiet magic that permeated the observatory. Eventually, the mapmaker stepped back, allowing the patterns to fade and the room to settle into soft darkness punctuated by starlight. They knelt by the edge of the balcony once more, letting the lantern's glow mingle with the silver mist and distant constellations. There was no need to move hastily, no requirement to finish or complete. The night itself offered patience, a slow unfolding of wonder, an infinite expanse of calm and possibility. And as the mapmaker inhaled deeply, exhaling into the soft hush of the observatory, a profound sense of alignment settled over every part of being, mind, body, and heart, attuned to the quiet rhythm of stars, of paths, of gentle observation. The observatory, in its ancient stillness, had offered more than maps or instruments. It had offered the soft reassurance that patience was a path in itself, that observation could be an act of meditation, and that the gentle unfolding of wonder was a gift meant to be savored slowly in quiet moments of presence and reflection. The mapmaker lingered a while longer, allowing the serenity of the night and the gentle pulse of the stars to sink fully into every fiber of being. And when they finally descended the spiral staircase, lantern flame steady, steps deliberate and soft, there was a lingering warmth in the chest, a quiet joy in the mind, and a gentle, unshakable certainty that the paths they traced were only beginning, that countless more lay ahead, waiting to be discovered with patience, reverence, and slow, mindful wonder. The observatory's doors closed softly behind them, leaving the mapmaker once again beneath the infinite night sky. Yet the experience lingered, a soft glow within the heart, a subtle rhythm in the breath, a quiet melody that would accompany every step into the nights to come. The path forward was unknown, as it always must be, yet the mapmaker felt no fear, lantern in hand, starlight thread stretching ahead. They moved into the waiting dark with the calm certainty that every journey, every observation, every careful tracing of the unseen was a bridge not only through the world, but through the quiet chambers of the self, an unending lullaby of discovery, reflection, and serene wonder. The night garden. The mapmaker left the observatory of forgotten stars with a quiet sense of calm, their lantern casting a gentle glow over the winding path ahead. The night was soft, velvety, a deep indigo that seemed to stretch infinitely above and around them. Every step was measured, deliberate, absorbing the tranquility of the world as it unfolded beneath the gentle sway of trees and vines. The forest beyond the observatory shifted subtly in the night air, leaves brushing softly against each other, releasing the faint scent of pine, moss, and dew. There was no rush, no urgency, only the steady, rhythmic pulse of the mapmaker's heartbeat, in quiet conversation with the faint hum of the earth below. Ahead, the path widened, revealing a delicate garden nestled between trees and rocks, illuminated by the soft glow of phosphorescent flowers. The garden seemed suspended in time, a hidden sanctuary where night had been allowed to bloom freely, unhurried by human schedules or ordinary concerns. Petals glimmered faintly with silver light, swaying gently as though stirred by some imperceptible breeze. Dew hung on delicate leaves, catching the lantern's glow and reflecting it back in tiny points of shimmering brilliance. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and night-blooming roses, sweet but subtle, a fragrance that carried memories of distant dreams, faint recollections of peaceful nights long past. The mapmaker stepped carefully along the winding stone paths, each stone polished smooth with age, worn soft by countless travelers who had perhaps only visited in dreams. The lantern's glow followed every curve and corner, revealing hidden details in the shadows. A cluster of luminous mushrooms here, a delicate spider web glinting like silver lace there, small motes of floating light hovering lazily as if caught between sleep and waking. Every moment was steeped in gentle wonder, every breath a reminder of the quiet magic of patience, attention, and mindful observation. The mapmaker's steps slowed even further, allowing each sensation, the warmth of the lantern, the softness of moss beneath fingertips, the faint vibration of life within the soil, to be fully absorbed, appreciated, and remembered. At the heart of the garden stood an archway, entwined with delicate vines that glimmered faintly with the light of distant stars. The archway was low, just tall enough for the mapmaker to duck slightly beneath it, and it seemed to pulse softly, as if alive with subtle energy. Passing through it was like stepping into another layer of the world, a hidden pocket where the ordinary flow of time softened into something more fluid, more reflective. The path beyond the archway opened into a small glade where flowers of impossible colors glimmered faintly, their petals translucent and delicate, as if made from spun glass. The air here was cooler, softer, carrying a gentle vibration that resonated through every part of the body, a feeling of suspended tranquility that encouraged quiet thought and gentle meditation. A small pond lay at the center of the glade, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the stars above like a mirror. Tiny ripples danced occasionally, disturbed by unseen creatures or the delicate brushing of a breeze, sending patterns of reflected light across the garden in slow, undulating waves. The mapmaker approached carefully, holding the lantern low, and knelt at the edge. The water shimmered faintly in response, each ripple producing soft, concentric rings of light that expanded outward, merging with the reflections of starlight. The pond was a place of quiet reflection, not only of the stars above, but of the inner landscapes of thought and memory. The mapmaker gazed into its depths, feeling a sense of alignment settle gently in the chest, as if the world itself was encouraging patience, awareness, and slow contemplation around the pond. Small paths wound among the flowers, each one lit faintly by motes of floating light that hovered above the petals. The mapmaker followed one path, stepping softly on stones smoothed by the passing of countless feet, whether real or imagined. Tiny creatures made of light flitted across the edges of vision, ephemeral and delicate, leaving faint trails of radiance that lingered like whispers of forgotten dreams. They did not startle or disturb. Rather, they seemed to encourage the mapmaker to move with care, to notice every detail, to allow the slow unfolding of discovery to be its own reward. Each footstep was deliberate, each breath synchronized with the gentle hum of the garden, each heartbeat attuned to the rhythm of night, lantern, and starlight. At a slight rise in the garden, the mapmaker found a small wooden bench, its surface smooth and worn, inviting quiet pause. Sitting down, lantern resting softly on the stone path beside them, the mapmaker allowed the senses to expand. The fragrance of flowers, faint hum of hidden creatures, soft rustle of leaves, and cool brush of night air all blended into a serene symphony. Tiny motes of light drifted lazily through the glade, catching the eyes like soft sparks of memory, or quiet reminders of gentle dreams. The mapmaker closed their eyes briefly, letting the sensation of the night seep fully into awareness, letting the hum of life, the pulse of stars, and the quiet glow of lantern and garden settle deeply into every fiber of being. After a time, the mapmaker rose, moving to explore further. The garden stretched endlessly in subtle curves, paths branching in delicate, sometimes imperceptible ways, each trail promising quiet wonders. Flowers that had seemed ordinary revealed hidden patterns when viewed through the soft glow of lantern. Like tiny, delicate spirals that shimmered faintly, subtle constellations woven into the petals themselves. The mapmaker paused often, brushing fingertips across petals and leaves, noting the faint vibrations and the quiet resonance that seemed to answer each touch with gentle acknowledgement. Every movement was an exchange of attention and awareness, a dialogue with the night itself, a slow unfolding of understanding and calm. In one secluded corner, a small grove of luminous trees stood, their trunks glowing faintly in gentle gradients of blue and silver. The branches curved overhead to form a canopy that filtered the starlight, casting delicate shadows across the soft grass. The mapmaker stepped beneath the canopy, lantern flame mingling with the soft glow, and noticed the subtle patterns of light and shadow dancing across the ground. Each movement of the branches, each shimmer of leaf, carried an almost musical rhythm, a soft pulse that encouraged slow, deliberate attention. The mapmaker allowed footsteps to be measured, breaths deep and steady, heart attuned to the quiet. Melody that seemed to flow through the grove like liquid silver. At the center of this grove, a small fountain trickled gently, its water shimmering with faint traces of starlight. The sound of water was soft, meditative, a slow lullaby that carried through the grove, blending with whispers of leaves and faint hums of light. The mapmaker knelt at its edge, dipping fingers into the cool, luminous water. Tiny ripples formed, reflecting both the starlight above and the lantern's glow, creating a delicate dance of illumination that stretched across the surface. The mapmaker's reflection merged with the garden's light, a quiet acknowledgement of presence, a serene moment where observer and observed became intertwined in gentle awareness. Around the fountain, tiny lights formed faint arcs in the air, drifting lazily and leaving trails of brilliance like whispered memories of dreams. The mapmaker followed one of these arcs slowly, stepping along the moss-covered stones, tracing the pattern through the grove. Each movement revealed new subtleties, flowers that opened briefly to catch the light, leaves that quivered in response, small, almost invisible threads of energy that pulsed faintly underfoot. There was no need for hurry. The beauty of the garden lay in careful observation, in patient attention, in allowing the night and its treasures to reveal themselves slowly, naturally, without force or expectation. As the mapmaker explored, the garden seemed to expand subtly, paths lengthening, hidden alcoves appearing, each corner holding delicate surprises. A single glowing bloom, a cluster of motes dancing like fireflies, a faint trail of starlight that wove through the grass. The air was alive with subtle motion, yet calm, balanced, soothing. Every sense was engaged in quiet delight, each moment an act of mindfulness, each breath a measure of calm and gentle presence. The mapmaker's heart felt lighter with every step, each sensation deepening the connection to the night, to the garden, to the infinite thread of quiet wonder that had guided them here. Toward the far end of the garden, a small archway of intertwined vines glimmered softly, offering an exit to another path yet unseen. The mapmaker approached carefully, lantern held high, noting the subtle pulse of energy that resonated through the vines. Passing beneath it felt like stepping into a continuation of the same dream, a gentle invitation to explore further, to follow not only the physical path, but the reflective, meditative journey that accompanied each step. Beyond the archway, more soft paths stretched into the night, each promising quiet discovery, gentle contemplation, and the serene joy of noticing small, delicate miracles. The mapmaker paused here, taking a slow, deep breath. Lantern flame flickered gently in the calm air, casting soft reflections across the stones. Motes of light drifted lazily around, some rising toward the sky, some settling along the paths, all moving in a delicate, unhurried rhythm. The garden, in all its silent, radiant beauty, was not merely a place to traverse, but a sanctuary to inhabit with quiet attention. A space where the mind could slow, the heart could expand, and the soul could rest. Every flower, every thread of light, every ripple in the water carried a lesson in patience, awareness, and gentle reverence for the soft unfolding of the night. The mapmaker lingered a while longer, allowing the garden's calm to settle fully into the mind and body. The lantern's glow mingled with starlight, water, and motes of light, creating a delicate mosaic that pulsed gently in rhythm with the heart. Each breath became slower, deeper, more reflective, each step measured and deliberate. And when the mapmaker finally rose, preparing to continue along the next path, there was a quiet certainty in the chest, a soft warmth in the heart, and a serene alignment with the rhythm of night, lantern, garden, and starlight. The journey would continue, but here, in this moment, the world had offered its gentle gift, the stillness, the wonder, and the slow, luminous unfolding of the night garden itself. The compass of infinite paths. The mapmaker left the night garden with a quiet, luminous sense of calm, their lanterns swinging gently with each measured step along the soft, winding path. The air was thick with the lingering fragrance of nocturnal blooms, a subtle blend of jasmine, roses, and dew that carried the gentle hum of life in the undergrowth. Each footfall on moss-lined stones resonated faintly, as though the earth itself Acknowledge the passage of careful, mindful steps. The night stretched endlessly above, a deep indigo expanse threaded with constellations that seemed closer than ever, shimmering faintly in response to the mapmaker's presence. Every sensation, the warmth of lantern light, the soft pulse of magic beneath the feet, the subtle vibrations in the air wove together into a harmonious lullaby, a slow rhythm that encouraged calm reflection, patience, and gentle wonder. Ahead, the path opened onto a small plateau perched above a valley shrouded in silver mist. The mapmaker paused for a moment, raising the lantern slightly to catch the distant gleam of light. There, half hidden in the mist, stood a structure unlike any they had encountered before, a delicate tower of crystalline glass, etched with intricate lines that seemed to shift subtly as starlight touched them. The air here was stiller, softer, carrying a faint hum of anticipation that tickled the skin and vibrated gently in the chest. The tower was known in whispered tales as the compass of infinite paths, a place where travelers and seekers could trace the hidden threads of all possible journeys, where the choices of mind, heart, and spirit could be seen reflected in luminous pathways that arched through both the physical world and the realm of imagination. As the mapmaker approached, the structure seemed to respond, a gentle glow emanating from the etched lines on its surface, illuminating a path that wound gracefully toward the entrance. The doors, tall and arched, slid open with a barely perceptible sigh, inviting passage without force, welcoming without intrusion. Stepping inside, the mapmaker felt the air shift, thick with the subtle scent of crystal, night dew, and old parchment. Light shimmered in every direction, refracted and multiplied by the delicate glass walls, creating endless patterns that danced across the floor, the ceiling, and the gentle curves of the instruments that lined the interior. Every surface pulsed softly with energy, resonating with the slow, deliberate presence of a visitor who moved not hurriedly, but with patience, awareness, and reverence. At the center of the compass tower lay a circular platform, its surface etched with concentric rings of delicate silver lines that spiraled inward and outward like ripples in water. Above it, suspended in midair, hovered a luminous orb, faintly rotating, casting soft reflections across the glass walls. The orb was the compass, itself the source of quiet power that allowed the paths of countless possibilities to emerge, overlap, and intertwine. As the mapmaker stepped onto the platform, the orb pulsed gently in response, releasing soft threads of light that arched outward, forming intricate patterns that stretched across the tower and beyond, weaving together glimpses of distant lands, unseen forests, starry rivers, and hidden gardens. The mapmaker knelt beside the platform, lantern held softly to illuminate the etched lines, and traced one of the threads with a careful finger. Immediately, the orb responded, brightening faintly, the thread glowing warmly under attention. Each movement created subtle ripples in the light, revealing connections that were invisible until recognized, paths that intertwined across distance and time, showing not only where one might walk, but what might be discovered, what might be felt, what might unfold in moments of careful observation and gentle decision. The mapmaker's breath slowed in rhythm with the pulsing light, heart attuned to the quiet language of paths and possibilities. Mind softening as the infinite network of luminous threads revealed itself. Beyond the immediate threads, the tower seemed to extend infinitely, layers upon layers of delicate light weaving through space in directions that defied ordinary perception. Some threads arched high, connecting to constellations far above. Others stretched low, brushing gently against hidden valleys, secret gardens, or streams of silver water. Each thread carried a sense of journey, of potential, of careful observation, and mindful choice. The mapmaker allowed the eyes to wander slowly, tracing the patterns with soft attention, letting the pulse of the orb guide each step of perception, feeling a quiet resonance with every path that shimmered in the gentle light. A soft hum arose in the air, barely perceptible at first, growing steadily into a harmonious chord that seemed to emanate from the orb itself. The sound carried a gentle instruction: move carefully, notice fully, choose mindfully, and trust the rhythm of the journey. It was not a command, nor a direction, but a subtle encouragement, a melodic lullaby woven into the very essence of the tower, guiding the mapmaker to attend to each detail with slow, deliberate mindfulness. With each breath, the mind softened further, absorbing not only the visual patterns, but the sensations, the subtle vibrations beneath the feet, the gentle warmth of the lantern, and the faint pulse of magic that resonated through every step. As the mapmaker traced another thread, it led to a small, hidden alcove within the tower. There, delicate instruments of crystal and silver rested on low tables, compasses that spun without ceasing, miniature ories rotating in harmony with unseen stars, tiny globes that glimmered with shifting constellations. Each instrument pulsed, faintly, responding to presence and attention, as though acknowledging the careful, measured observation of one who understood that the world was not merely to be seen, but to be felt, experienced, and honored. The mapmaker touched a small globe, fingertips brushing lightly against the surface. Instantly, a network of threads arched outward, subtle paths stretching in all directions, connecting to unseen gardens, starry rivers, and misty forests, illuminating the infinite potential of gentle exploration and careful observation. The mapmaker rose and moved along a narrow path that wound upward, a spiral staircase of delicate crystal that allowed soft light to filter in from the orb below. Each step carried a subtle vibration, harmonizing with the slow hum of the tower and the pulse of the threads. Looking outward through the glass walls, distant constellations shimmered faintly, their reflections mirrored in the crystalline surface of the tower, creating an endless, layered panorama of night, light, and possibility. Each layer of observation, each careful step, each breath, drawn slowly and deliberately, was a bridge between the physical and the imagined, the observed and the dreamed, the known and the yet -to-be- discovered. At the top of the tower, the mapmaker arrived at a small platform, suspended just below a delicate dome of glass etched with faint, luminous runes. The orb hung in the center, casting threads of light that arched outward, intersecting and interweaving with one another in an intricate web of paths. The mapmaker knelt and allowed fingers to hover above the orb, feeling a subtle pull, a soft guidance toward threads that shimmered more brightly under attention. Each thread seemed alive, responding to thought and intention, pulsing faintly in time with the heartbeat, the breath, and the rhythm of the night itself. Here, the infinite potential of all paths felt tangible, a delicate balance of movement, observation, and gentle alignment with the quiet order of the universe. Hours passed in a slow, unmeasured flow. The mapmaker traced path after path, observing, feeling, and attending to the subtle hum of infinite possibilities. Some threads led to distant gardens, where flowers glimmered faintly in silver light. Others arched across starlit rivers, along bridges woven from dreams. Still others spiraled through unseen forests, where motes of luminous life danced lazily in the night. Each thread offered a unique lesson in patience, mindfulness, and reverence for the quiet unfolding of wonder. The mapmaker's attention remained slow, deliberate, focused on the gentle pulse of light and the infinite melody of possibility. At one point, a faint ripple of energy passed through the tower, causing the threads to shift and reweave themselves. Subtly, the mapmaker paused, lantern held softly, observing how the orb responded to the gentle reconfiguration. It was a reminder that even infinite paths were not fixed, that every choice, every observation, every careful attention could shape the flow of experience. There was no fear in this understanding, only serenity, a quiet joy in the realization that the journey itself, slow, deliberate, aware, was the essence of discovery, not the mere arrival at a destination docked from the platform. The mapmaker could see paths that reached far beyond the tower, arcing toward the horizon, intertwining with threads of starlight, shadow, and dream. Each path was a potential story, a gentle possibility waiting to be explored with patience, care, and reverence. The mapmaker's lantern reflected softly against the crystalline surface, mingling with threads of light to form a delicate mosaic, a temporary map of infinite potential. Every breath slowed, every heartbeat aligned with the rhythm of the orb, every thought softened into quiet awareness. Here, at the heart of the compass of infinite paths, the mapmaker understood with gentle certainty that the journey, each careful step, each patient observation, each quiet moment of wonder was its own reward. Eventually, the mapmaker descended slowly, step by step, returning to the platform below, lantern steady in hand, heart aligned with the rhythm of the night. The orb's glow softened in acknowledgement, threads of light arching gently toward paths yet unseen. Each movement, each pause, each subtle breath carried the calm, reflective energy of the tower, a quiet encouragement to continue the journey beyond this space. Stepping onto the outer path, the mapmaker felt the pulse of the night extend through the body, a seamless flow of serenity, curiosity, and mindful presence. Finally, the mapmaker left the compass tower and returned to the quiet path that stretched toward the horizon. Lantern held gently, eyes attuned to the soft shimmer of starlight on moss and stone. Every step carried a deep sense of calm. The night, infinite and luminous, welcomed each careful movement, every breath, every heartbeat, every gentle observation. And as the mapmaker walked beneath constellations, across bridges of dream and gardens of soft light, there was a serene understanding that the threads of the infinite paths existed not only in the world outside, but within the slow, mindful unfolding of every thought, every breath, every quiet, deliberate choice. The journey would continue, and yet it had already reached its essence, a meditation on the gentle unfolding of wonder. the patient tracing of paths, the serene joy of observing, feeling, and moving with awareness. The mapmaker's lantern cast a final, soft glow on the path ahead, mingling with the silver threads of starlight. Each step carried not merely the body forward, but the heart, mind, and spirit, all aligned with the infinite rhythm of the night, the quiet pulse of the world, and the gentle, endless possibilities of paths yet to be discovered. And as the first hint of dawn brushed the far horizon, soft and luminous, the mapmaker paused, lantern lowered, chest rising and falling in slow harmony with the night that had guided them. The infinite paths remained, waiting patiently, a quiet symphony of light and shadow, dream and observation, each step a lullaby for the soul, each breath a measure of serene wonder, each heartbeat a gentle affirmation that the journey, in all its calm, luminous detail, would continue forever, quietly, beautifully, and endlessly. Thank you, dear dreamer, for joining me tonight. May your sleep be deep, peaceful, and filled with gentle wonders. If you enjoyed this journey, consider subscribing to Whispers of the Night so new stories can find you whenever you need them. Rest well, and until next time, may your path be lit with soft, comforting starlight. Good night.